Hey there, fourth grade. This is Mr. Campbell. Today we're going to be opening up to page 89. We're going to be working on lesson 3.3, use arrays and partial products to multiply. At the end of today, we want you to be able to say, I can use an array and partial products to multiply. Now, we keep telling you that at the end of the day, we just want you to choose something that is going to work best for you. So if the strategy we're going to show you today works best for you, go with that. But if this just makes things a little bit more confusing for you, hey, don't worry about it. Don't stress about it. Instead, let's just go ahead and focus on a different strategy that maybe makes more sense. But here's what we're going to do today. It says a music room has arranged chairs into rows. There are 6 rows, and each row has 18 chairs. How many chairs are in the music room? Solve this problem any way you choose. All right, so here we go. Down here, I've already got these 6 rows. So if you take a look here, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh my goodness, I missed 1 row. I'm so glad that I just counted those because sometimes that happens to us, right? We get mixed up a little bit. So here's my row number 6. All right, we've got our 6 rows, all right? And in each row, I've got a set of 10, and then I have 18, and then 8 more because 18. Each row has 18. So 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So every row will have those 18. So if I'm trying to figure this out, well, what I can do is I can say, well, here I've got 6 rows, and in each row I've got 10. So 6 times 10. And then over here for my ones, I have 6 rows again, but this time I've got 8 in every single one of my rows. I don't have a full 10. I've only got 8. So 6 times 8, oops, there we go, 8 because there's 8 in each row. All right. Now that I've got this, now I can say, okay, well, what is the answer to each of those 2 parts, right? I can go ahead and start with my 6 times 10, and 6 times 10, of course, is going to be 60. Now that I've got my 6 times 10 is 60, I can say, well, what's 6 times 8? And when I check that out, I go, well, 6 times 8 is 48. All right. So now that I've figured out all of my 10s and all of my 1s, now I can just add these 2 numbers together, and 60 plus 48 is going to be 108 chairs. Now, again, I want to just reinforce to you, if this is like really confusing and you're like, I don't know about this, Mr. Campbell, that's okay. We're just going to give you some different options for you to be able to go, hey, which one of these makes the most sense to me? So let's go ahead and turn to the next page. We're going to go to page 90 and check out another example of what we can do building our array and then showing our model and then doing partial products for those 2 parts. So if you're not on page 90, go ahead and get there right now. Pause the video and make sure that you're going to follow along with me because it says, the windows of a building on an international drive are in an array. There are 5 rows with 13 windows in each row. 5 rows, 13 windows in each row. How many windows are there altogether? So we've got our picture right here. Well, what we're going to do is we're just going to move those over and use some of our place value blocks here. And I'll zoom in a little bit more so you can see. So we've got our 13 windows per row. So in my top row, I've got 10, 11, 12, 13. And every single row will have that exact thing. And this is what's called an array. An array is an arrangement of objects into equal rows. And that's the really important part here is they need to be equal rows. Every single row has the same amount. And that's why this can work for us. So instead of them just being in this big group here, we broke it into 10s and then our leftover 1s. Well, let's go ahead and check out box C. It says what you think, right? So for box C, it says find 5 times 13. Well, that's a little bit tricky. It's a 2-digit number that I'm multiplying. So what if I made it into something a little easier? All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my 10s. And I'm going to say 5 times 10 because there's 5 rows and there's 10 in each of those. Well, 10s are those easy numbers for us to work with. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Now we're going to work on our 1s place. And so we still have 5 rows, but there's 3 in each row. So we are going to do 5 times 3, which gives me 15. All right. So then I have my 50 and my 15, and you guessed it, we're going to add those together, which will give us our answer of 65 windows. The numbers 15 and 50 are called partial products, and 65 is the product. Product just means the answer to a multiplication problem. This is called partial products because we're taking our initial number up here and breaking it into two different parts, partial, right? Two parts, and then bringing them back together for our final product. All right. Well, if we didn't want to draw the whole array, we could still use our partial products. And here's how. What we do is when we line these up, we're going to start with our ones place. So 5 times 3, that's going to be 15. And they show it to you right here. 5 times 3 is 15. Next, I'm going to do my tens place. And so I'm going to say 5 times 1, 10. And the reason they say that is because if we remember our powers of 10, that just means we need a 0 in our ones place. And 5 times 1 is a super easy math problem because it's just the original number, so 5. Now I can add these up. 5 plus 0 is 5, and 1 plus 5 is 6. All right, so the product 65, that's what we found using the distributive property, which is what we do when we break it apart into these different pieces and then bring them back together. Partial products can be something that's really, really helpful for us when we're getting started and we need some of those smaller numbers for multiplying together. It's not wrong. It's not bad. There's a lot of people who really like this method. And again, if that's not you, that's okay. I just want you to practice it for today. And then if you're like, I have a different way, I like traditional a lot more, that's totally fine. We just want you to practice and see if this is something that you'll like more. Let's go ahead and turn to page 91 and check out the example we've got over there. So once again, if you're not on page 91, pause the video, get there right now. Make sure you've got your pencil. This is the page where we're going to really start writing some more things down. Well, we've got another example here, and this time we're going to find 2 times 126. So now we've got a 3-digit number. And this is, again, how it really can help us to use those partial products to do these bigger numbers. So let's go ahead and check it out. I'm going to go ahead and move past the estimate for right now because we just want to jump right into our problem. Well, 126, but I have 2 rows of that. So here I've got 100, 10, 20, so 120, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 126. This is an array because we have 2 of these and they're the exact same. All right. To use my partial products, what does that mean? Well, that means I'm going to go ahead and start with my ones. So I've got 2 times 6 ones, and 2 times 6 is 12. Next is my tens place. I've got 2 rows, and there's 20 in each one. So 2 times 2 tens, and that tens tells me to put that 0 in the ones place. 2 times 2 is 4, so it's 40. And then my last one, I have 2 sets of 100. So 2 times 100 is 200. And now I can add these up. 0 plus 0 is 2. 0 plus 4 plus 1 is 5. And 2 plus nothing is 2. We had our 2 rows with 126 in each one. And we can use partial products to be able to solve that. Well, let's go ahead and check out our Do You Know How? And I'm going to grab my whiteboard for today. You might want to grab your whiteboard because this is one where we're going to draw some arrays, and it might be a little bit more helpful for you to have that with you. So if you want to pause, you can go ahead and do that. We're going to do this on, like I said, my whiteboard over here. So if you want to follow along, that's the best way for you to get to try this out is to follow along with me. If you just sit there and write down the final answer, that doesn't help you at all because you're not learning how to do this actual problem. So go ahead, try it out, and then if you still have questions, that's what that time at the end is for with your teacher. So let's go ahead and check out number 2. Number 2 says I need 2 rows with 24 in each one. Well, when I'm drawing my arrays, this is how I represent a group of 10. It's just called a straight. So I've got 10, 20, and then I need 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I need 2 rows of that though. So 10, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. This array helps me to be able to figure out how many I've got all together. So let's go ahead and start with our tens place. Well, I've got 2 rows times, and how many do I have? Well, I've got 2 sets of 10. So 2 tens. And then in my ones place, I've got 2 rows. So over here, I'm going to put 2 times, And how many do I have? Well, I have 4 ones. All right. So I've got 2 sets of 10s and 2 sets of 4. 2 times 2 is going to give me 4, and it's in the 10 spot. So that tells me that I need to put a 0 behind it. So it's 40. 2 sets of 10 is 40. In my ones place, I've got 2 times 4, and that's 8, and that's in the ones place. So I don't need any zeros for that one. I can add these two together, and now I can say, well, it's 40 plus 8 is going to be 48. Okay. All right, we're going to do one more together, and then I'm going to send you off to go ahead and try these last couple on your own. And again, if this is something that's difficult for you, if you've got more questions, that's okay. We just want you to make sure you're asking your teachers to try to help you out. Because again, if this is not the way for you, they could probably help you out figuring out a way that might be a little bit more comfortable than this one. So here we go. So for number 3, we're going to have 3 rows with 218 in each row. All right. So when I draw this picture, I'm going to start off with my first row, making 100. There we go. 200. And then I have a 1 in my 10 spot, so it's a 10 straight. And then I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 218. And I need 3 rows of that, so I'm going to repeat those same steps 2 more times. All right, and this should give me my 3 rows with 218 in each row. Now, the part where I can use my partial products is I can look at this and I say I have 3 rows, and I'm going to times that by how many hundreds is in each row? Well, there's 200. And then I come over here and I say, here's my tens place, and I have 3 rows, and how many tens? Well, only times 1 set of 10. And then my last part is I look at my ones and I say I have 3 rows, and how many do I have in each one? Well, it's 8. So 3 times 8 ones. Now that I have this, now I can multiply. So I come over here and 3 times 200. Well, I've got my powers of 10, which tells me that I can just focus on the first part and then bring these 2 zeros to make the place values match up. So 3 times 2 is easy. That's 6. And then these 2 zeros make it into 600. Over here, I've got the same powers of 10. I've got 3 times 1 is 3. And this 0 comes to make it a 10. So it's 30. It's not just 3. It's 3 groups of 10. 10, 20, 30. And then in my ones place, I go, well, what's 3 times 8? Well, 3 times 8 is 24. All right. When I'm starting to add more and more numbers together, and I see that I've got multiple numbers in my tens place, I like to rewrite this so that they are, if you remember the words I keep using, vertical instead of horizontal. And the reason for that is I don't want to get too mixed up as I go. So take a look here. 0 plus 0 plus 4 is 4. 0 plus 3 is 3. Plus 2 is 5. And then 6 plus 0 is 6. So my final answer here is going to be 654. All right. It's a lot of steps, but we can draw our array to actually see what we're multiplying. We can use our partial products to break it down into smaller numbers that are easier, and then I can add those numbers together at the end to find my final answer. And if you take a look at your independent practice for today, which I'll bring over here so we can check that out real quick, it's actually going to ask you to do some of these same things. They're showing you the array, so you don't actually have to draw them. They're going to give them to you. And they're going to break it down into your tens and your ones and then add them together. Same with over here. We've got our 2 times 105. They want to know how many 2 times 5 is, and they want to 2 times 100 because there's no tens in this one, and then we add them up. So again, the whole idea of this is to make these into numbers that are easier for you to work with. If you don't love this method, that's okay. There's lots of teachers who like it. There's lots of teachers who don't. There's lots of students who go, this makes so much sense to me. And there's so many students who go, this is so confusing, I don't like it. And either is okay. You don't have to love it. We just wanted you to try it out for today. Well, thanks so much for working with me, 4th grade. I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Make sure you work on numbers 4 and 5. We'll see you next time.